Welcome to the Fantasy Update Show on the Joey Marsh League Network, the only network where you can get 24/7 JML highlights, updates, and stats once a week. This episode brought to you by Pabst Blue Ribbon.
PBR, an American classic since 1893.
I'm your host, Ryan, along with my co-host, Ben. And Ben, what a week, huh?
Whew. My thoughts exactly.
Couldn't have said it better myself. All right, let's go with our first feature. It's the recap of the previous week, starting with it's Miller time with 133.6 points versus Team Mike Lai with 120.2. And man, in Breeze, we trust.
Absolutely.
Having the Breeze and Brandon Cooks connection certainly helped my team, scoring almost half my points total. Losing Keenan Allen is tough, but I'm hoping my team will continue to thrive with his absence.
Yeah, and hey, solid week one stuff from the league, defending champion. I'd expect nothing different. Solid win for it's Miller time. Nice work, Ryan.
Thank you.
But fans of Team Mike Live, this is a no panic situation here. It's week one, 120 plus points. That's solid effort. We got your Cardinal stars going off, David Johnson and Larry Fitzgerald really putting the team on their back there. I'd say look for Team Mike Live to be in contention come playoff time.
Very true. I agree. All right. In our next matchup, it was Julio going to call with 123.3 points versus Dak and Decker with 88.1. And while Tyrod Taylor floundered, Chris Keel had strong performances with his running backs, C.J. Anderson and Theo Riddick. They helped him lock in a week one win easily.
Yeah, and I got to hand it to Chris there. Good stuff. 123 points is hard to overcome. Team Dak and Decker, really rough showing week one. Stars like Brandon Marshall coming out flat. Just can't have that if you want to win ball games. So Team Dak and Decker is really going to have to put forth a better effort if they want to be in contention come December.
True.
All right. You know that sound.
Yep.
It's time for our Ritz Bits Blowout of the Week. Brought to you by Ritz Bits. When life's got you in the pits, help yourself to a handful of Ritz Bits.
So good.
All right, here we go. Blowout of the week. Why did I draft Golden Tate? Just destroying this girl. Is on fire. I'm talking about a 49.9 point victory here. Joey Sullivan really had his team put together this week. It was a huge blowout win, solid showings, just across the board. But, with Golden Tate on the bench, it really does pose the question, Joey, why did you draft Golden Tate?
We're still wondering that. We may never know. And John's team's namesake, Todd Gurley, along with Des Bryant, had uncharacteristic rough games, scoring a combined 6 points. John will need them to step up big time in the following weeks if he wants a chance at the elusive Joey Marsh Cup. All right, and our next matchup, it's Brown versus Board of Education with 134.8 points versus Woodhead Dew with 101.8 points. Mark certainly gave Jeremiah an education this week, outscoring him by over 30 points with 20-plus point performances by quarterback Aaron Rodgers and wide receiver Antonio Brown, along with a great Spencer Ware plug-in due to Jamal Charles sitting out. Mark's team integrated nicely to get an easy win this week.
I'd say so. But here's the thing. What'd it do? It's a nice team effort despite a subpar performance from his bell cow backs, Peterson and Freeman. They combined for 9 points between them. I think it still shows a sign of encouragement, though. What'd it do? Breaking 100 points with a subpar performance from his two best players. So I think that shows good sign in the future for Coach Jerry Schaefer.
I agree.
All right, our next matchup, Team McMahon over OBJYN, 122.8 to 90.6. And hey, lead performances from Andrew Luck and D'Angelo Williams, they really lit it up out there this week. Team McMahon came through with an easy win and added its name to a long list of playoff contenders.
And Brett may indeed need a visit to the OBGYN after the pounding he took from Team McMahon.
Absolutely.
With 0 points from the Chiefs DST and a subpar performance from quarterback Russell Wilson, he had no shot to win this matchup. And keep an eye out next week to see if Brett plays Matty Ice in place of an ailing Russell Wilson.
That's a good lookout. Good lookout. All right. So our next matchup of the week: Christ on a Bike over It Hurts When I Pee, 125.4 to 111.9. You know, with a breakout performance from famous Jameis and AJ Green constantly reminding us why he's one of the elite receivers in the NFL, Christ on a Bike really coasted for a win this week. And time will only tell if John can remove the training wheels this year and ride with Christ into the playoffs.
And while Nick had a solid showing by his team, it wasn't quite enough to get the win. Jeremy Hill had a tough matchup against a solid Jets D and couldn't quite break double digits in fantasy points. Rookie Ezekiel Elliott probably did not perform quite as well as Nick would have hoped with 11.7 points. And with that, we have our fuck up of the week. And what that means is that's the team that they could have made just merely one roster change.
Close.
Just one roster
So
change,
close.
and it would have won them their matchup for the week. This week, Nick could have replaced a slowing Emmanuel Sanders with Saints wideout Willie Snead. That would have been enough for him to beat John. You done fucked up. And with that, we'll go to our commercial break. Stick with us. We'll be right back. So good. You want some?
No, man.
Dude, have some.
No.
Have some, dude.
Dude, if you saw the things I did to it when I had the cup, no one would be drinking out of that trophy.
And we're back with Fantasy Update with our next segment, and it is Coach of the Week by Ben.
All right, here we go. One of my favorite segments on the show. It's Coach of the Week. How we break this down, it's just a simple efficiency equation. Total points scored versus your best possible lineup score. We ran this by some of our analysts in the lab, and here was what we came up with. We have Coach of the Week, Week 1, Chris Keel. Congratulations, buddy.
Congrats.
Who are you going to call? Solid, very solid, 99.9% efficiency rating. Just one play could have saved him from having a perfect lineup. A simple Devontae Adams in place of Edelman would have given him the perfect lineup, but we're not going to remember that. We're going to remember that awesome week you had, Chris, and congratulations moving forward. I'm looking to see more efficiency out of who you're going to call.
Very amazing. Less than 1 point difference from what he played with his lineup than what his perfect lineup would have been with his team.
123.3 out of a possible 124.1. Just off the charts. Good job, Chris. It's going to be tough to beat the rest of the season. But moving on, in the hot seat, kind of on the reverse end of Coach of the Week, we have Nick Carp. Fans of It Hurts When I Pee are really going to be calling for Nick's head if he has a couple more weeks like this, and only an 81% efficiency rating. He only scored 111.9 points out of a possible 137.4. He's leaving points out on the table, and frankly, in this league, that's just not going to cut it. You're going to lose games because of it.
I agree.
All right, and moving forward, we're going on with our next segment, this week's Power Rankings, brought to you by Bowflex.
Bowflex. Guess what, you bish? And here we are, week 1, power rankings. You can see Mark taking number 1. Very impressive week. He did great. Followed by yours truly, Ryan. No surprise there. Number 2, John. Followed by Chris, and James, and then Joey. That wraps up the teams that got 1 win this week. All right, now we're moving on to the teams that got a loss. At number 7, we have Mike, followed by Nick, and then Jeremiah, Brett, followed by our co-host Ben, and coming in last but not least, John, at number 12. We'll see what happens next week. There will surely be some movement. All right, on to our next segment. It's our game of the week. And this game of the week is Team McMahon versus
So
Team
excited.
Christ on a bike.
So excited.
For those of you who don't know, 2 years ago, Team McMahon came in last place in our league. Last place. How embarrassing. That would be horrible. And then, last year, Christ on a bike, he came in last place. Can you believe it?
I can.
And now, me too. And now they're matched up against each other. Week 2, they both somehow got a win last week. And now they're playing each other. Who's going to come out by the ultimate victor?
I'm really intrigued by this game here. I'm really looking forward to see the outcome here.
Should be interesting. My vote goes with Team McMahon. He's got Andrew Luck as his starting quarterback. He was on fire last week. It's only been 1 week, but he's a superstar. He should keep it up. I believe he'll put up the same points, if not more, than he did last week. D'Angelo Williams, Le'Veon Bell's still out. He put up over 30 points last week. I don't expect him to maybe do quite as well, but he is a stud. He'll do great. And then we've got Rob Gronkowski. McMahon didn't even have him last week. He's injured. He's still a question for this week. We don't know if he's going to play or not, but I have faith that he's going to play. And if he does, McMahon is going to be very tough to beat. I think he's going to beat Christ in the bike, and that's what I think.
And Ryan, you have some very good points there. Andrew Luck and D. Will absolutely lit it up for James last week. Team McMahon they just really anchored Team McMahon for the win last week. It's going to be tough to beat them if they can replicate that performance from week 1. But I'm really liking Christ on a bike this week. We have Mark Ingram. I think he's going to see an increased role in the offense this week. It was kind of a shootout last week. Didn't really get to see the full array of Ingram, but I think we're going to get some handoffs, some passes thrown his way. I think he's going to get some goal line carries. He was going to break the pylon at least twice this week. And AJ Green, what else can be said about this guy? Touched on him earlier. He just proves time and time again why he is one of the best receivers in this league. The cat can straight out ball. It's just ridiculous. I'm looking for him to have another huge week. And with those two performances added to that, we have Sammy Watkins. He's dealing with a little bit of a foot injury. He still has that big playability, though. I'm looking for him to score a 60-plus yard TD next week, and that's going to lift Christ on a bike.
I respectfully disagree, but we'll see what happens. All right, and with that, that is Fantasy Update this week. We give you 24/7 updates with the Joey Marsh League once a week. All right, and we'll see you next week. Fuck you, Jeremiah. I'm going to beat your ass. All right, goodbye.
Let's go goodbye. Cheers.
Hey guys, me and my co-host Ryan, we just want to thank you for watching this week's episode of the Fantasy Update on the Joey Marsh League Network. We encourage you all to write in with your questions and comments to the show. Leave them on the group's Facebook page and we'll address them on the next show. Thanks for watching, guys.
Thanks, guys. See you next week.